Welcome back, terrestrials. In this episode, we're doing 1992's.
Candyman.
That's right. We're finally getting to Candyman. I did a
Hmm?
solo review of the continuation slash remake, reimagining back in 2021, but we will be getting to that together, tag teaming that eventually. Right now, we need to start at the beginning, start with Tony Todd, start with Candyman, the OG.
Yes.
Jerry, what do you grade this one?
A.
A. Oh,
A.
wait. All right. Um, I think that I'm going to give it an A plus. I wanted
Okay.
to give it an S, but I do have some confusing, conflicting feelings on it, so I got to go A plus.
Right.
All right, tell me why A.
Uh, because this movie is the definition of fuck around and find out.
Okay,
Like
true.
it's the most like I've ever seen. Like someone being like, "Yeah, there's this thing," and like I wouldn't fuck around with it. And this woman just sitting there going, I think I'm gonna fuck around and find out," and like her life just gets progressively worse as the more she tries to research this idea instead of
Right.
like that first notion of being like,
Yeah.
hmm, I
Look,
think I'm
white people
good.
don't give up property in haunted movies, so we're not going to stop researching some
Right,
data that we need the points on. So,
right.
yeah.
I'm gonna give it that. I'm also gonna give it the proper use of a horror villain, where in the two that come out after this, Candyman is just going rampant, and you seeing Candyman all the time, and like the Cenobites and Hellraiser, Candyman works in small little doses, not because it's a bad character, but because it makes the character more powerful. I mean, like we go through a good majority of this movie without seeing Candyman, but when fucking Candyman finally comes into that car park,
Mhm.
it's just like, holy shit,
The
you know?
British car park
The freaking car, but like
parking lot,
parking lot,
the
yeah,
parking structure, car park.
the
Jesus
car,
Christ. All
the
right.
thing and shit with where the cars go when
Uh-huh.
you live in a
The parking
city,
garage. Yes.
and parking garage. Yeah, that's a
Yes.
good one.
Yes.
I'll accept that too.
Okay.
But yeah, when we finally see the Candyman,
Uh-huh.
it's great.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Um, I also like in this movie the double take of like, I'm the Candyman bitch.
Hmm.
Just that idea that she's following this urban legend, and okay, you were looking for a guy with a hook and you found him.
This is a good segue into some of the issue that I have with this movie. So I was sitting here thinking like, wow, this movie did a lot of good because you've seen the new Candyman, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
Perfect.
the
That's an
the
S.
right, the wokeness of it and the heavy-handedness of White Devil is strong in that one. Justified, it's good. This one, I felt like every time they went, white people are bad, you know, like in the new one, they go, they're gentrifying our area.
Right.
They're building it up. They're going to move us out. They're going to make it so expensive we have to go somewhere else. Blah blah blah.
Right.
All of that is factual. It's hard nosed. It's hard to hear, but it's accurate. This
Okay.
one felt like um, when she goes, when she's walking with her friend, she goes, yeah, it's a shame that this woman is murdered and the cops won't come, but I get attacked as a white woman and they come, they came to save me.
Right.
And it's like, all right, cool. Yeah, you're pointing that out. Good job. Like you made that statement in a movie that a million people are going to see. Thank you.
Hmm?
But then she's the white savior that saves the little black baby at the end. And it's kind of like this like we got your
Yeah.
back, but also we're not all bad. It just felt like it. That's kind of how it felt though. it felt like we'll give you something, but also this. It felt weird to me
But
to do that. And I don't know. I love the movie. I think it's a
yeah,
fantastic movie. And I think you're right as far as when we're finally introduced to Candyman in that car park, as you said.
right.
It's
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 perfect.
fantastic. I mean, you
Yeah,
see 30-40 minutes of this movie, no Candyman. You only hear him whispers of the name.
right,
And then you see a Candyman, but he's obviously not Candyman. And
right.
then you see the Candyman, and Tony Todd just does an amazing job. He is he is
Yes.
terrifying. He he gives you chills. Like,
It's a unique original character
it's
of,
so unique.
you know,
Yes.
and very American of a character, like when you think about it.
Well, the
It
backstory of him being a son of
yeah,
a slave and all that
right.
stuff is uniquely,
He was a
well, it's not
painter.
uniquely
I think he
American.
was a painter,
So yeah,
you know.
so the story was his father was a shoemaker and he made shoes for the wealthy. He became wealthy himself. The son, being Tony Todd's character, was a painter. He
Mm,
was painting a woman, fell in love with her, got her pregnant. The family was like, oh hell no, and sent some rednecks out after him, cut his hand off so he couldn't paint anymore, I guess. And then
right.
he got stung to death by bees.
Yeah, they poured
But
honey on him.
yeah, yeah,
They
and it
poured
was
honey on him, and that's where they got the look, Candyman and
mhm,
shit. That's
yeah.
where, but that's all in later movies where they start. But it's
No, it's all explained directly
oh,
in this
yeah,
movie.
that's right, the urban legend ponytail guy,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
the weird
yeah, yeah,
the weird guy. I forgot about that part.
yeah,
But yeah, I definitely like of a main character, where yeah, she's rushing into something that you don't want to be a part of this. Like
yeah.
you shouldn't,
Right,
because this is not for you,
mhm,
but you don't want to be a part of
right.
this. The reason we don't think this is just a silly little game about, and I think the remake really does a great job where he mentions that name once and the mom's like, nope, nope, we don't say that. And
Mhm.
that is kind of like because of this stuff that happened here in the 90s.
Well,
And
also he's supposed to be the baby.
yeah, I think that's what they're implying.
Yeah, and I didn't put that together, even though it directly shows. All right, we're not talking about the new one,
Yeah, we're gonna start
but
talking about
so
the new one. It's the
I
same, but
think that it's really hard to not talk about the new one and talk about this one when you've seen both of them,
right,
because if you skip 2 and 3, the new one is a direct sequel.
right.
But all right, let's do our best.
I
I
know.
think on your note of fuck around and find out,
Fuck around and find out.
this lady is getting so many warnings to stop.
Stop. Yeah.
Like, I mean, all right, number one, her shitbag husband is very clearly cheating on her the entire movie.
Yeah, I
Um,
think she's the only one that doesn't see
Right.
that
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. Yeah. And she sees it, but she chooses not to see it. That's the other thing.
Right.
And I think that that plays into her personality because she's choosing to not see how much danger she
She's in.
continuously puts herself in.
Right.
Because, I mean, they go there the first time and those boys on the step are going, you don't belong here,
Yeah.
and they're straight up saying you don't belong here, you shouldn't be here. And then they get told again by the neighbor with the baby, and then she gets told again by the young boy,
Right.
and she gets shown that she doesn't belong there by the fake candy man.
Right.
And then she goes back again. It's just like, it's like
How
it's
many fucking
so,
warning
yeah,
signs do you
yeah,
need to
yeah,
not swim in
like,
the fucking water because of
right.
sharks and
Yeah,
shit?
yeah, exactly.
It's
They've
just like,
already bit your legs off. You're
right.
bleeding out. Stop going back in the water. Like, I understand the idea of, like, I get not wanting to be deterred, not being
Right.
scared, being stubborn, being bullheaded. Like,
Well,
I can do these things. I
the
will do these things. But
investigation of her report for college or
right,
wherever,
right.
of that like determination to like really discover what's going on.
Hmm.
It's like, but you don't need to know. Like, this is just something like that guy told you everything you need to know
Hmm.
at the beginning, and you don't need to like
But also,
investigate.
she mentions that she doesn't like him. So
Right.
and that's why she says, we're going to bury you.
Right.
Because though she didn't know the Candyman lore, she was further into investigating the actual situation than he had gotten.
Hmm.
And that's why she says that. So I think that that was part of her drive, was like, I'm going to show these motherfuckers. But then also, almost kind of like what I brought up with the whole idea of Clive writing a story, when I was under the impression that he wrote this story. That's not your story to tell.
Right.
So that, like Anthony in 2021, that's his story to tell.
Yes.
That's why that movie works so well. That is his story.
Hmm.
That's from where he's from. Now, her coming in and doing it seems false. It seems like, let me put these people on display for my benefit. And
Right.
that rubs me the wrong way. I understand
Yeah, but
she's a professor researching whatever, blah, blah,
right.
blah. I get all that.
That's the real story, is like, listen, don't fuck around with things like this. When everybody in this neighborhood is telling you, no, don't do
Right.
this, no,
Yeah.
don't, you abide by those rules and say, you know something, you're right. I'm gonna go home into that condo in like the big part of Chicago or
Mhm.
wherever. And you just say, yeah, no, I didn't find nothing out there actually. Fuck the
Yeah,
underlying
exactly.
idea, you know.
Yeah.
Like, this is not just like certain some 90s horror, especially in that early 90s. Yeah, there's blood and there's like, gratuitous
Gratuitous. Yes.
violence, but also there is this notion of no more are there like, you know, people running up and down stairs trying to go upstairs to get out of the house, or no,
Right.
this has a real consequence and a real point. And
I don't see it that often. I
yeah,
mean, people under the stairs in
people in
Candyman,
the stairs would be
I see these, but
yeah.
Scream, no.
The
Like, a
Scream,
lot of these movies just don't have like a
right.
core set of values that it's trying to speak on.
Uh
Um,
fucking
but
Silence of the Lambs, of a woman in a man's world.
yeah, okay, that's fair.
That idea,
Yeah,
where Clarice Starling, I
yeah,
mean, Hannibal even
I'm right there
says,
with you.
don't you see, Clarice, where they,
Um,
they stare at you and they want what they want, or whatever Hannibal says.
I agree with you.
Yeah, but there were a lot, not a lot. I mean, we're
Yeah,
still,
I still don't think there's a lot. I mean,
yeah,
I think that Jordan Peele is doing a good job at
right,
making those statements, but not a lot of other people are.
right.
Um, so all right, let's take off the tones and underlying things and
Yeah,
actually talk about the movie some, because there are some good things. Um,
that
like
poor dog. That poor
w-
dog.
well, okay. Uh
I felt so bad for the dog.
one thing in the movie that I wanted to bring up is when we meet Tony, or Candyman. I
Yeah,
keep just wanting to call him Tony Todd. Um,
Tony.
when we meet Candyman, it becomes very Hellraiser-esque.
Yeah,
It's the music, the way she is in this trance, like she's
right.
responding with her actual thoughts, but she's very clearly in a trance. She's lit very softly with like soft gold light and
Mm-hmm.
almost in a dream sequence, but not heavy effect.
All right.
Um, the music, everything just feels very, very Hellraiser, very Clive Barkery. And I don't know if maybe he threw in a suggestion or this guy just
Maybe.
got the vibe from Hellraisers. But there are that aspect, and then there's the line of where he later has her and he's like, the pain will be exquisite. Like that's another like to me another throwback to Hellraiser. Like
Right.
it just feels good. It
Right.
feels
It's
comfortable. Like I know
exquisite,
that. Yeah.
like fancy horror.
Right.
Like you don't, you know, I mean,
It's
like,
just a more elegant way of saying it.
right,
Like where
right,
he's like, your pain will be legendary in hell,
right,
or even in hell. In Hellraiser, this is an elevated thing where instead of going, your pain will be excruciating or something, he's changing the word to exquisite, like it's going to be beautiful. How
right,
painful this is. Like
right.
it just it these little things matter so, in
Yes,
elevating this movie so much, and somebody could hear that line and just go eh. But
it's
when
a
I'm
throwaway
listening,
line, but
it
if you really
it
pay
is,
attention
but
to
it
it, it's
isn't.
important.
Like right, yeah, it is, but it isn't.
Can we discuss the fact on how to make a Candyman? Because obviously she becomes a Candyman in the end.
Oh,
Our
the
main
white girl.
character, yeah, white girl.
um
So she gets burned up in that fire pit, like
I don't.
kissing Candyman. But then at the end of the movie, which I think is a great bit, where
Yeah,
he's
that
sitting there and
motherfucker gets what he gets. Like he
yeah,
gets what he deserves.
and she, the student,
Yeah,
the
she gets
his
caught
affair,
up in the trap.
she'll be
Yeah,
blamed
she'll
for
get
that
blamed
shit.
for
I
that shit.
mean,
Yeah,
you
right.
know,
It was nice
but
to see her tits. But yeah,
like,
I
how
think
is
that the
Candyman? How are Candyman's made? Because she's now a Candyman, basically.
is she though, or did she just get the chance at
He
revenge
called
that
her
one
name
time?
3 times in a mirror and stuff. I think
Right,
that
three, not
determines that
five.
she's now a candy.
So she's not a full candy man yet. She's just
Yeah,
candy.
she's like a half a
She's
candy,
yeah,
but she's still got
she's
like,
candy. Like she's not a whole
yeah, she's
candy
just
man.
candy.
Yeah, yeah,
You get a stripper name now and
yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
candy.
Yeah, but
Um,
I think all of her business is done at that point once she slices her shitty ass husband up.
yeah,
Like she's done. She can go on to the next realm.
yeah.
I don't think she makes an appearance in any of the other movies. I know they suck. I'm gonna
I
watch
don't
them later.
remember.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to watch them now though.
I'm like
Um,
the other two are.
I don't think they suck. I
That's
think
it,
they just it's
it's
too
like
much of a good
Hellraiser.
thing. Yeah, too much of
It's
a
like
good thing.
Hellraiser 3
Yeah,
and like where they just start taking Candyman and projecting him in like a lot of the
yeah,
movie.
yeah.
And I'm really a big fan of
Minimalism.
he should be there only when it's
Right.
important. You should hear him. That's why they gave him bees, because how simple is it to see like a couple of bees kind of fly through the scene and go, "Oh, Candyman," like that shit.
Again, they did it wonderfully in the 2021.
Correct.
Like, yeah.
The like those small little like nods. It's like that shit's good, but when we see the Cinnabites or Candyman like in the streets like, "Rawr, I'm a monster," it's just like next.
I remember doing the Candyman thing. I remember the Bloody Mary thing,
Yeah.
like as kids going in the bathroom and doing this. Um, so this like it's funny because like I really did grow up with Candyman.
Yeah.
Like
Everybody,
I think well in
from
our
that
age range.
generation.
Yeah, exactly. Like I knew Candyman 5 times in the mirror, I knew that before I saw the movie.
Right.
Like 90, 95, 94, 95. Like I was doing that with friends like at
Hmm.
5, 6 years old or
It
like 7, 8 years old. Like it was a cultural thing.
it was a movie about an urban legend that became an urban legend.
Right, right, exactly. Um, but I think that the like the idea of Candyman and the way you see him portrayed in the movie is really good. Like when you see her crawl out of Candyman's mouth when she's in the
Yeah.
going into the apartment, Loved it. When you see her like with the flashlight and she shines it and it's like a more better picture of Tony Todd.
Hmm.
Um it loved it.
Yeah.
Like the portrayal of him is so good in this movie, and it lends to when you finally see him, you're like, "Oh fuck." Like, the whole like,
Hmm.
and then later he opens his coat and it's just rib cage and bees and all that shit.
Ribcage and
Like
bees.
it's I think they did such a good job with that that it's really hard to top. Like, I mean,
Right.
I'm trying to think of another movie that
Well, it's
introduces the killer so elegantly other than Hellraiser, because
right.
it's almost Hellraiser esque because the way you're introduced to the Cenobites later,
Yeah.
like,
Clever horror. Clever
right,
horror
exactly.
where you have to think it's Hannibal Lecter just stay, oh my God, he's a cannibal and he's eating people. And we just see this polite man just standing there.
Mhm.
He's just standing there. Another thing about this that's iconic that I would say is that soundtrack.
The
That
soundtrack
soundtrack
was
in this,
fucking incredible.
it's Philip Glass,
Mhm.
composer, and the whole nine yards, even from the simple piano tune to that
It
opening
really,
scene of
really,
Chicago, which is beautiful. I mean, like,
mhm.
it's like, am I watching a horror movie or like a
Yeah.
classic piece of drama?
Yeah,
You
it
know?
really it stands out in this movie, and it adds so much to this movie.
Yeah.
Um Yeah, I think that I'm glad that you brought that up, because though
Oh,
I had it written down, I wrote this music really stands out in the movie, looks, fits, works so well.
right.
Because it really does. It's great every time. Like, they matched moods so well.
Hmm.
They told stories so well. Every time that white girl's doing like her life, it's a very simple, like, classical, like almost like dinner party style classical music
Right.
going on, and then it gets intense when she goes into Caperti, and then it's just like it's telling the story along with it, and it's just enhancing it so well. It's great. um
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah. Fucking like I just that soundtrack, and like you think about also once again why he's on the Mount Rushmore, Candyman, why he's on the Mount Rushmore is you can put a musical tune basically to any horror icon. Let it be, you know, the Michael Myers Halloween beat, you know,
Yeah.
for Jason, Freddy with the dun 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 dun. You really have to create that not only in visual but in that key and that piano tone for the cue for Candyman is just like that's a cherry on top. It's
Hmm.
perfect. There we go. We got um, a, a, a franchise character that could make like a great movies,
Hmm.
and then you put it in the hands of people, and it kind of fizzles.
Up into your
All
shit.
right, is this a cult classic?
Yeah, because it doesn't get nearly as much love as it should.
No, I think it's a popular. I think it's
No,
a little bit
no,
more popular,
no.
especially with the
No,
remake.
ask anybody. Go,
Okay.
hey, who's your Mount Rushmore? What are your top
I don't
favorite?
know if
And
yeah,
then
Candyman would
nobody,
be
no,
there.
no, Candyman
Yeah.
wasn't there on ours until this fucking review. We've never put Candyman
See, I
in the
put more than
Rushmore.
like four. I mean, like Mount Rushmore for me is like
Well, the
all of
term
them,
Mount Rushmore means four, because Mount Rushmore has four. So when you go, my Mount Rushmore has 10, then it's not Mount Rushmore anymore. It's a
I guess
fucking something
it's
else.
just like a
Like,
yeah, it's okay. My Last Supper then.
that's
There's like
fine. There
it's
you go.
12.
There you go.
All right, so gonna go see this in the theater?
I would love to, yes.
Yeah, I think it would be great in the theater. Physical copy, got
Naturally.
mine.
Yep, got mine right
Yep,
here.
got mine on back there.
Oh, nope, that's fucking a
Yeah,
burps,
you
whatever.
got two of them, but it's
Yeah, but one
yeah.
of them isn't actually Candyman. It's blank check.
Right, right. Which is the funniest thing in the world. It's
I'll still
literally a
watch it.
blank.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. The
That's
remake.
it.
We've already said the remake.
Yeah.
Like, but
The remake's coming. We were gonna do the remake soon.
yeah, they've already remade it. The remake's
Yeah.
great. So, all
Yeah. Yeah.
right.
All
That's
right.
us.
All right. That's that. That's Candyman.